I'm going to show you how I turned this bathroom into this. Hi, my name's Sally, and today I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to do some minor aesthetic touch-ups on a really low budget to this very outdated bathroom. I'm currently in Florida, and this is my stepdaughter's house, and this is her spare bathroom. And this house was built in 1982, and nothing has been done in terms of any renovations. She's planning on selling it, so we're not going to do any major demolitions. I will put timestamps of everything we're going to do so you can jump to it if that's the thing that you're most interested in. But basically, painting the cabinets, I'm going to do a really cool trick with the countertops. It's not really a trick, it's just a really cool product I'm going to show you how to use. And then some aesthetic touch-ups, some minor changes. We're still going to paint the tile in the bathtub and change up that. Anyway, instead of me telling you all the things we're going to do, let me just show you. Let's get started.
The first step of any renovation is deciding what you want to do and how much you're willing to spend. Here's the mood board I created in Milanote for what I wanted to achieve with this bathroom makeover. The crazy part is I had a very limited budget for this renovation and less than 2 weeks to get it finished. I'll share a full cost breakdown of this makeover at the end of this video. Now it's time to remove anything that's going to get in the way or anything we don't want anymore. Starting with this extremely outdated mold collecting shower screen. It was actually easier than expected to remove. All you have to do is unscrew it, carefully take it out, and then patch the remaining holes, which I'll show you how to do later on in this video. The bathroom accessories and the fittings were all extremely outdated and needed to go. This is actually one of my favorite tips when it comes to refreshing a space on a budget. If you can't do a complete renovation, or even if you're in a rental and want to do a quick reversible refresh, changing the small details can make a huge difference. Brings me to this very dated tap. This was one of the first things I removed from the bathroom because we're going to prep and paint the basin using the same paint we're using to completely transform the shower area. Taps are actually pretty easy to remove. First, turn off the water underneath the sink. Then use a wrench to loosen the mounting nut underneath the tap, which is what holds it in place. Once that's removed, the tap should lift out pretty easily. I also removed the old basin waste so it would match the new tapware once everything was finished. Next up was removing this large mirror. As great as a massive mirror can be, this one was going to get in the way when it came to painting the vanity top and the small splashback lip around the edges. I also wanted to modernize the space, so removing it helped make room for something that suited the new design a little bit better. Now for the bathroom vanity top. I used the Daich SpreadStone countertop kit in natural white. It's a countertop refinishing kit that gives you a stone look finish without having to replace the entire vanity top. The kit comes with everything you need, including sandpaper, but I highly recommend using an orbital sander if you care about your own sanity. You'll see what I mean. The first thing I did was prep the surface properly. I degreased it, removed any dirt and grime, and scraped away the old caulk from around the edges. Then I came in with the orbital sander and a 60 grit sanding pad to really scruff up the surface. This gives the coating something to grip onto and helps it adhere properly. While I was there, I also prepped the basin the same way because I'll be painting that later in the video as well, but with a different type of paint. Once the sanding was done, I cleaned up all the dust and taped off the surrounding edges with painter's tape, including around the sink, the walls, and anywhere I didn't want the coating to touch. Once everything was clean, dried, and taped off, I started with the base coat. A little tip here, because we'll be using the paint tray again and it's so annoying to clean, line it first with aluminium foil. It makes cleanup so much easier. I used a brush around the edges and tight areas. Then I rolled the base coat over the main surface to even everything out and soften any brush mark. The base coat has a thick, creamy consistency, so you want to apply it in thin, even layers for the best result. You can see here what it looks like after one coat. After about 1 hour, or once it's dried a touch, you can go in with a second coat of base coat to fully cover the old vanity top. Another tip is to keep your roller and tray inside a plastic bag between coats. This helps stop the roller from drying out and saves you from having to clean everything between coats. I forgot to film what the vanity top looked like after the second coat, but you can see here before I apply the stone coat that the original countertop is completely covered. It almost has like a rough cement feel to it. Now for the fun part, the stone coating. You can apply this around 1 to 2 hours after the base coat. Make sure you give the stone coating a really good stir before you start because all the stone particles settle at the bottom. This product is so different to any paint I've ever used before. It's quite thick and clumpy, and honestly, it feels a little intimidating at first because of all the stone bits, but I promise you get used to it pretty quickly. I started by using a brush around the edges and the corners, then went in with a fresh roller to even out the surface. For the main surface areas, you want to roll in an X pattern. This helps distribute the stone particles more evenly across the vanity top. You can also play around with the pressure as you roll. If you notice a thicker cluster of stone particles in one area, you can move it around with the brush or the roller until it looks a little bit more even. You'll understand what I mean once you start working with it. After the first stone coat, I waited around 1 to 2 hours, then applied the second stone coat. The first coat can look a little patchy, so don't panic. The second coat is what really helps even everything out and build up that stone texture. After the second stone coat, I let it cure for 24 hours. At this stage, it looks something like this. Not really like stone yet, just a very dull, bumpy, textured surface. But this next part is where the product really starts to shine, literally. You are going to want to grab that orbital sander again, but this time with a 120 grit sanding pad, and then gently sand down the stone coat. As you sand, it gradually starts to reveal all those little specks of different colored stone, which is so satisfying. You're aiming for more of an orange peel finish. You don't want it to be completely flat because if you sand too far, you can lose that stone look texture, but you also don't want it to stay too dull and bumpy. For the parts that were harder to reach with a sander, or areas where I was worried about over-sanding, I used a sanding block with the sandpaper from the kit. And this is what it looks like after sanding and before the final clear coat. Now it's time to seal everything in with the top coat. Before applying it, I wiped the entire sanded surface clean to remove any dust or debris. I used a tack cloth for this, which is great because it picks up all those tiny particles that can get left behind. For the top coat, you want to use a fresh, clean brush and roller. And another little tip, if the lighting makes it hard to see where you've already applied the clear coat, use your phone torch or another light to catch the shine on the surface. It makes it much easier to see where you've been. I applied the first clear coat, let it dry for about 4 hours, and then went in with the second clear coat. After the final clear coat, I let everything cure for about 24 hours before allowing traffic on the countertop. This is also the point where I used a sharp blade to carefully score along the edge where the painter's tape met the new finish. Because the SpreadStone layers create a thicker coating, scoring the edge first helps you remove the tape cleanly without pulling up the finish. The surface takes around 7 days to fully cure, so during that time, don't put anything heavy on it and be gentle with it while it continues to harden. And honestly, look at that clean finish. So satisfying, and what a difference. We're also going to caulk around the edges to seal everything properly and help stop water from getting underneath the finish. Here's some footage of me caulking the counter edge once everything was dry. Instead of smoothing it out with your fingers, I highly recommend using a caulk finishing tool. It makes the whole process so much easier and gives you a much cleaner, more professional looking finish. I used the color natural white because I wanted the bathroom to feel brighter, cleaner, and more modern without having to replace the entire vanity top. And I absolutely love how it turned out. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below and if you have any questions. Now it's time to paint the cabinets and update the hardware. This old laminate that was made to look like wood doesn't get a lot of traffic, and I think a coat of paint is a really easy way to refresh it while keeping it budget friendly. I started by removing the cabinet doors, including the hinges. The hinges needed to come off so I could properly clean, sand, and prep the cabinet doors for painting. I'm also reusing the original hinges, which saves money and means I don't have to worry about matching up new ones to the old holes. I compared a lot of cabinet paints online and ended up choosing Beyond Paint because it seemed like one of the easiest options to work with, and it's meant to be really durable. It was a little more expensive, but for this kind of project, I think it was worth it. It has a strange mayonnaise type consistency, but it's easy to paint with. It also doesn't have a strong smell, which was a huge bonus, but I'd still recommend good ventilation, eye protection, and a mask. Before painting, the first step is prep, always. I started by degreasing and cleaning the cabinet frame, then the cabinet doors and drawer fronts. You want to remove any dirt, oil, grime, or residue because paint won't properly stick to a dirty surface. Then I sanded everything with 220 grit sandpaper. Beyond Paint does say sanding isn't necessary, but because this was a smooth laminate surface, I wanted to scuff it up slightly and remove the shine so that the paint had something better to grip onto. From my experience, no matter what you are painting, the proper prep is key to long-term adherence. Once everything was sanded, I wiped it all down with a damp cloth to remove the dust and waited for it to dry completely. I'm not the best at cutting in, so I taped off the surrounding areas with painter's tape before painting the cabinet frames. I painted the frame first before moving on to the drawers and the doors. Also, I used a foam brush instead of a regular paintbrush because I found it easier to make the paint look tidy that way and less streaky. For the upper wall cabinet, I decided to use white Beyond Paint, which I already had for another project, so it would blend in better with the vanity area. While the frame was drying, I worked on the cabinet doors and drawer fronts. I removed all the old handles so I could properly prep and paint the surface. Normally, I would usually suggest choosing new hardware to match the existing holes because it saves you from having to fill and drill new ones. But in this bathroom, I felt the drawers needed small knobs instead of 2-hole handles, so I needed to fill the old holes first. To do that, I used DAP plastic filler. This works really well for small holes because once it dries, it can be sanded smooth and painted over. I slightly overfilled the holes so I could sand them back flush once the filler had dried. For shallow holes like this, it usually takes around 2 to 6 hours to dry, depending on how much filler you use and the conditions in the room. Once it was dry, I sanded it smooth with 220 grit sandpaper, wiped away the dust with a damp cloth, and waited for everything to dry again before painting. Then I went in with the first coat of Beyond Paint. You can see here that the first coat doesn't fully cover the color underneath, and it has a slightly textured orange peel look. Don't panic, that's normal. I waited at least 2 hours until it was dried a touch, and then applied the second coat. The second coat is where the coverage really starts to come together. Because Beyond Paint is self-leveling, it does smooth out as it dries, but you still want to apply it in thin, even coats. I used a roller for the main areas and tried to keep my roller direction consistent so the finish looked as smooth as possible. Once all the cabinets were painted, I let them dry properly before attaching the hardware. I waited a couple of days before drilling the new knob holes. It does take around 5 to 7 days for the paint to go through its initial cure, so during that time you want to be really gentle with it. This tool I got from Amazon is called a cabinet hardware jig or a cabinet handle drill guide, and it makes this part so much easier. It helps you line up your holes properly, especially if you're installing 2-hole handles. For the drawers, I measured where I wanted the single hole knobs to sit, marked the center point, drilled a pilot hole, and then screwed the new knobs into place. Next was to clean and paint the hinges. To freshen up the old brass hinges, I boiled them in about 1 part vinegar to 2 parts water with a small squeeze of dish soap for around 10 to 15 minutes. This helps loosen old grime, grease, and buildup. After that, I strained the water, let the hinges cool, and then scrubbed them with a brush, baking soda, and a little more dish soap. The baking soda works like a gentle abrasive, and the dish soap helps cut through any leftover grease. Also, it became so tedious using a toothbrush for the number of hinges I had, because I was also cleaning the ones from the kitchen renovation, so I just completely covered them with baking soda, a ton of dish soap, and then a large scrubbing brush. Rinse it all under water one more time, and then used a hairdryer to dry them fully, and that worked perfectly. Isn't the before and after amazing? You could absolutely keep them like this if you like the brass look, and honestly, they looked so much better already, but I wanted them to match the new black hardware. So to save money, I spray painted with a special metal spray paint instead of replacing them. When spray painting hinges, make sure they're clean and completely dry first. Then spray in light, even coats, holding the can around 30 centimeters away from the surface. Don't try to cover everything in one heavy coat because that's when you get the uneven texture or the drips. Keep the can moving and build up the color gradually. I did the same thing for the old screws in terms of how to clean them, but when it came to spray painting them, I have 2 suggestions. You can use a piece of foam board from some old packaging and just push the screws into that, or you can line them up along some painter's tape like this so that you can paint the screw tops. You don't need to spray paint the thread because it's going to go into the wood. Spray them like you did the hinges, and now you have some black screws to match the hardware. I let the hinges and screws fully dry for a couple of days before attaching them onto the cabinet doors. I find it easier to attach the hinges to the cabinet door first, then line the door up with the cabinet frame and screw the hinges back into place. Now, let me remind you of how it looked before and now after. I actually started doing the voiceover for the Rust-Oleum Tub Tile section and realized there was way too much information to include in this video without making it unnecessarily long. And because I care about your time, I'm going to keep this part as more of an overview and create a separate detailed tutorial showing the full prep, painting process, tips, mistakes, and everything I wish I knew before using it. So I'll link that video separately. Also, while I'm here, I'll show you how I covered the holes that were left from removing the glass shower screen. Using a scraper, I removed the old wall plugs, any leftover sealant, and any grime around the holes. Once the holes were clean, I filled them with a 2-part instant mix epoxy. You simply remove the cap, squeeze it out, and the 2 parts mix together inside the nozzle. It was quite runny, so don't panic if it looks a little drippy. It's okay to slightly overfill the hole because once it hardens, you can sand it back. I waited until the epoxy had reached handling strength for this product. That was around 1 hour, and then I sanded it back flush with the tile. This is how it looked once it was dry and sanded. It's not too noticeable and it seals the hole really well. But once we paint over it with the tub and tile paint, you won't see it at all. Now, before we get on to the exciting finishing touches, we had to remove the old towel rail and the toilet roll holder. These were old built-in bathroom fittings, so they weren't just screwed onto the wall. They were actually set into the wall, which meant once they came off, they left some pretty big holes behind. So of course, those needed to be patched before we could paint. For the larger holes, I used a self-adhesive wall repair patch first. This gives the joint compound something to sit onto instead of just falling through the hole. This is kind of a quick fix, easy solution, if you ask me. Then I used all-purpose joint compound over the top. When applying it, I found it worked best to start with a little more product in the center where the hole is deepest, and then feather it out towards the edges so that it blends into the wall. You don't want one big lump sitting on the wall, but you do want enough product in the middle to properly cover and build up the damaged area. Once that was fully dry, I sanded it smooth with 220 grit sandpaper until it was flush with the wall. Because the wall had texture, I then used a wall texture spray to help the patched area blend in with the surrounding wall. I sprayed it lightly over the patch, let it dry, and then painted over it. I forgot to get the after footage of the painted wall, but you can see in this shot that it doesn't look like there was even any holes there. For the paint, I actually took a small sample of existing wall color to the hardware store and had them color match it, and it turned out perfectly. Now it's time for the new bathroom hardware. I wanted all the finishing touches to match, so I chose matte black accessories to tie it all in. I've put everything into a blog post with all the links, and I've put that in the description box for you down below. I actually found this matching set, which was perfect because it came with pieces like the toilet roll holder, a towel ring, some hooks, and then I bought a longer towel rail separately for the bath towel. To install them, I marked where I wanted each piece to sit, and then I used a laser level, which honestly made the whole process so much easier. Once everything was lined up and level, I drilled the pilot hole and then screwed the mounting brackets into the wall. Then the actual hardware just slides over the top and tightens underneath with a small set screw using an Allen key that comes with the set. I did the same thing with the mirror above the sink and just eyeballed the height based on what I thought would look best in the space. Then I found these cute rechargeable LED lights on Amazon. Because this was a budget renovation, I didn't want to get an electrician in just to install aesthetic lighting, so I went in with these little sensor-activated lights instead. Wait until you see the final result at the end of this video. I think it's a good one. So remember at the beginning when I removed the old faucet so I could paint the sink? Well, now that the sink is painted and cured, it's time to install the new faucet. I purchased this black 2-handle faucet to match the new cabinet handles and the rest of the black bathroom hardware. This one also came with a matching pop-up drain assembly, so the sink drain could match the faucet as well. To install it, I placed the new faucet over the existing holes, making sure the rubber gasket sat underneath the faucet base. This helps seal the area and stops water from getting underneath. Then, from underneath the sink, I screwed on the mounting nuts to secure the faucet in place so that it doesn't move. Once the faucet was secure, I reattached the hot and cold water supply lines. I tightened them with an adjustable wrench. Then it was time to install the matching pop-up drain. I placed the drain assembly through the sink drain opening from the top. Then underneath the sink, I added the rubber washer and the lock nut to hold it in place. Once that was secure, I connected the bottom of the drain to the P-trap underneath the sink. After everything was connected, I turned the water back on slowly and checked underneath for leaks. And that's probably the most important part here. Don't just install it and walk away. Run the water, check around the faucet, the supply lines, the drain, the P-trap to make sure everything is sealed properly and there is no leak. And just like that, the new black faucet has completely changed the look of this sink. Well, that and the paint, of course. And finally, a couple more things before I show you the final reveal. So the old toilet was dated and had that off-white color. So we decided to splurge a little and replace it with a new one. Thankfully, we didn't have to call a plumber because the kiddos knew how to change a toilet. So I left that one up to them. It didn't look too hard, but it was definitely not something I felt like tackling. Another easy upgrade was changing the outlets from dated yellow to fresh white. I won't go into how to do that here because my stepdaughter was trained on it. And when it comes to anything electrical, I'd always suggest using someone qualified. The final thing that was looking yellow and gross was the vent cover. I removed it, gave it a really good clean, and painted it white so it would blend in with the ceiling. And to save money, instead of replacing the light, I just spray painted the rim of it black at the same time as when I spray painted the hinges. It's honestly amazing what paint can do. As for the shower, there's no outdated screen anymore, so I replaced it with a shower rod and these inexpensive sliding curtain hooks from Amazon. We already had a shower curtain and it ended up matching the space perfectly, so we didn't need to buy one of those, but I'll link all the Amazon purchases I made in the description box below or in that blog post because I really think some of these little final touches made such a big difference to the space. And as promised, here is the final cost of this bathroom renovation. Believe it or not, the entire project cost $800 to complete. I've put a full cost breakdown in a blog post, which I'll link in the description box below. But for now, in my opinion, the best part, which is the final reveal. If you've made it this far to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, easy to understand. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comment box below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.